Hey guys, how you doing? Alright, let's do this thing. Okay, we'll do one before we get started and then we'll get going. Alright. Okay, dokie. Huh. He left the game. Sorry about making the noise. Okay, still thirsty there. Let's see if he rejoins. Wonder if Bishop D6 see, Bishop D6 is kind of a scary move, so to be met with, because you have to always, you got to be careful when you get a bishop like this on D6. It's iron. We're fully developed, and even if he plays rook to E1, we could just castle. So we're fine to go. And after we get this victory here, we'll move on and do one of my games that I played last night. Okay, claim victory. Okay. We'll do this game here. And I played the Mason attack. You always, you meet when your opponent plays bishop to d6, you always meet it with g5 usually. There's a couple things when you don't, but in this scenario you do. You meet it with g3, so not g5, g3. Some lines you can actually meet bishop with actually g5. And then what you do is he provokes a weakness. You go back, a weakness, and then you come, and then he takes, and then you take, and you have this weakness. That's if he like castles. And some other lines are played like that. So don't get too worried. And if you guys want to join, you can always join Team Chess Cruncher. Team Chess Cruncher. So C3, D takes C, E takes C, castles, and then bishop to D3. Taking scope on H7, and then bishop H4. Now this H7 is a threat. Bishop goes to E7, knight BD2, H6, queen to C2, A6, knight E5, knight takes E5, C takes E5, D, bishop takes, queen takes, F4, and then knight F5, castle queen side, because I want to start flinging my pawns up the board. B5, G4, bishop b7, which really doesn't have any point to do with it. I believe he should have just kind of either went bishop d7, and that would have allowed me to have played h, and then maybe a5. I think I break through first. So b7. His idea though is based around my rook and this pawn push here, so I just go rook hg1, which actually helps me. Now I could play potentially g5 there. Okay, d8, rook a e1, which now I have the ability to play f5, pawn takes f5, g takes f5, and then I can crack the center open. I have a double attack on g6, and I also can bring a knight in to attack g5. At rg6 depends on what he attacks. Queen to h, I go queen f3, attacks the queen, queen e7, wasted a move. And then f5, smack, right down the center. Takes, queen c7, and then I go f4, wham. And of course he can't play here. You guys see why. Smack, and if he takes, actually I don't want to do that. So I probably would have to play rook up here if he plays there. Check, and then checkmate. So you have to, that's why I played d6, he played g5, which actually still fell to a move. G takes knight takes g5, h takes g5, rook takes g5, and then I played the nice, beautiful rook e3, and there's no way to prevent. He could stall it with knight here, and potentially queen there. But then I have check, and when queen takes, I take their mate, so he also potentially could stop right here, but then I shut it down with bishop to f5. And so when the queen takes, and I really don't know what he could do. I think it's mate 2 here. That went mate 4. Okay, so this was mate 2. Gotcha. Alright. A little out of order there, but hey, it works. Okay, we will go into our London system now. The Chikorian variation, game 3 of the Chikorian. So d4, d5, knight f. I'm going to move this out of the way just a little bit. And we just do the setup. Castles. Retreat back g3. 95, knight bd5, and then takes, castles, c4, c takes d4, c takes d4. And at this moment, black really doesn't have any good thing to do. Yes, he has the pair of bishops, but no real good attacks to come of it. Black's position, white's pretty rock solid at this moment, so there's no real way for white to be infiltrated. If you notice, he's solid here, here, and black's bishops is one's eye in a cement beam, which is g3. This bishop, the bishop on g4, if we ever just move our knight to either h2 or h4, it's attacking here, and we can take back, and then we have two knights versus a knight and bishop, which his knight and bishop, his two bishop advantage has gone away. Oops, sorry guys, sorry, forgot to minimize this. There you go. Hey, how you doing? Sorry about that. Got into teaching mode. Okay. Knight. Okay, knight takes. Okay, there's a line that you can go over as queen. This is okay. It's not the best of the best. This actually loses for black. And what you do is you can actually take here. There's a tactic. I'm gonna let you guys take a second and think about what is White's best move here. Because this is a pretty sweet tactic. If you guys know this tactic, you can apply it in your games. I'll let you guys take a second and second or two, and you guys can put in what you guys think the move for White would be. The line, if you could put in a line, that'd be great too. Like what you think the move sequences would be, because knowing one move isn't enough. It's you must know the majority all the way kind of to the end for this line here. Gotta have courage. Don't be afraid. Take a risk. We'll talk about it. If even, you know what, it's all about learning. Just take a risk, because that's what this stream's about, is learning. And you remember, I'm friendly and I'm always here to help you guys. Okay, so there's no fear. I'll give you guys one more minute, then I'll show you the line. Okie dokie. I know you guys probably have already seen it and have already done it. F takes e5, bishop takes e2, knight takes c6, d takes, bishop takes d1, knight takes e7 check, bishop takes knight, and then f takes, and White comes away with a pawn ahead. And also he is taking scope on c7. He's taking scope on c7 with the rook. So that's why he just played, rather than queen to c7, he played bishop e7. Rook c1, queen b5, a3. Hey. I'm way of typing. Oh, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry. Hey, you know what? Uh, if you have any questions, that's the whole thing. You know what? Take your time. If you need some time for like a puzzle, hey, how you doing, Fox? If you need some time for, to like when I propose something like that, just write in. Can you give me a minute? I'm typing. Don't worry. Don't worry. I'll give you guys as much time as it takes for you to learn. That's the whole purpose, is to learn. Because it goes back to the Bruce Lee, knowing is not enough, we must apply. So that's why I'm trying. I want you guys to get involved in this so that you guys can apply what Bruce Lee said. And then willing is not enough, we must do. So we, like some people want to will and do stuff, but you have to actually do. I'm willing to do some, but you actually have to do it. So that's the hardest thing to do, is get over the fear of typing stuff out. And don't worry if you need time. Just type in. Tell me. I'll give you guys time. Okay, let's see here. And B4. This B4 move cramps all of his dark square bishop is no longer in any power or control. It has no squares really to go to. This is stopped. That stopped because of the knight, and that stopped. So if the bishop ever came here, the knight would more than happily just snap that bishop off the board. So that's why a6 was played, kind of potentially to maybe kick the knight out with b4 or b5. So something similar to that. But what happened is, if he didn't play a6 but a5, which is a dubious move, b5 would be played, queen takes b5, d6, a discovery on the queen, iron also at the same time, the pawn on b7. So when the queen came over trying to take scope here, hey, yeah, takes rook bd7 and knight to c5. With this move here, by removing the b pawn, the c pawn here becomes a target for our rook, and also the knight is under fire too. So that knight's under fire and the pawn's under fire because they're lined up like bowling pins in an alley to get a strike. So b4, a6, queen c2, which we're getting off of this pin here, and this gives us some ideas of potentially tactics. We may even sack this for some sort of combination of mate, because we have something like this. We always have a potential knight there or something like that when this bishop moves. Or we could, double up here, do something like that. h5, bishop d3. Now, we don't really have to worry about this, because the idea is if bishop takes, pawn takes, queen takes, we actually can snap a pawn off. He plays bishop to f6, which is a standard move. A dubious move would actually be bishop takes bishop. Bishop takes f3. G takes f3. Queen takes f3 is a mistake. First of all, you grab a pawn, which gets your pawn back. The king moves, then you go e4, and now you're attacking the queen. The queen goes to h5. We go g2. Of course, you guys have seen that. Rook to h1 with a pin on the queen. And the bishop can't intercept because of this pawn on g3. King g8, rook h1, and then we go knight e5 with an idea of eyeing this c pawn. If takes, he takes, and now we got to do one thing. This opens up this queen for an attack. See, the knight right here was blocking a potential bishop coming back to attack. You'll love this move. It's so sweet. You think, oh, just take back, right? But he drops the surprise of his life on his opponent with boom, h7. I couldn't believe this. This is so beautiful. He can't walk here because if he does, he loses the queen. If he walks here, he loses the queen. It's like, what in the world? Because bishop to d3 and there's no way to save the queen. Because if you try to play knight takes, you get back rank mated. So the only way to save the king is actually to go g6 and then smack. There goes the queen off the board, and so you won the queen. But I thought that was so beautiful. That was like heaven sent move right there. It's what a chess player loves to see. That type of combination when you can even sack a whole piece, do a check, bring a king over, and then come back and win the queen. Otherwise, it's mate. Gotta love that. Even if he plays knight to g6, he still loses. Everything in this scenario loses the queen. So bishop to d3, queen, bishop f6, bishop e4, and this gets an exclam mark here. This is a really this challenges the position of a white for the h7 square. This kind of shuts down a lot of white's tactics. But then white finds a really interesting move, which is knight c d2, which really is good because if you think about it, if he takes, then what happens is the knight could take back. Let's see here. I want to make sure I have this. Okay, good. That was one move. There's also this move too. Takes, queen takes, c takes, knight d2, queen e7, and then b3 with a potential idea of infiltrating onto the c5 square. But rather than that, he traded bishop e7, queen b2, which we want to be able to, if he plays rook to d5, we want to be able to meet that with a potential rook c7, because we don't want queen to h5, h6 to arise. I'll show you what we're talking about. Rook d5, knight to c5, queen b at h6 with exclam. This is a good move, really a good move. Rook fd1, and this white doesn't mind walking his king with if rook to h5, king f1, check, king e2. He doesn't mind that because his rooks are still connected and he's actually has a superior position. Not a total, I'd say a slightly superior position, not a full superior. And so if he didn't play this move here, let's say that he plays knight takes pawn, right? Rook h5, knight h4, bishop takes, g takes, rook takes, then f4 to shut down this queen and give a flight square for the king. Rook h1, king f2, queen h4 check, king e2, king h, and then what happens is it's a perpetual, because if he actually goes over to d7, d2, that actually is a losing move, because first he could play rook takes, a rook takes, and then queen to b5 with a double attack on the rook and the knight. So you got to be really careful with your move sequences. Bishop takes knight. Rook takes c5. And this line here takes, in my opinion, is an excellent move. It stops the rooks. Rook takes, queen takes, and then rook to c1. Now we have dominated the. There's two half-open files, but I believe that the C file is best in this line because really the king can't move enough to get going. And also, the rook to c1 allows for the queen to protect the rook, so the king could actually go to e2 in an endgame now without any worries. Queen b5, which that cuts the king off, so the king can't really move. Bishop, queen to b3, with more likely the idea of going c4, trading off, and then getting the king involved. Black does have a better, in theory, endgame because of his pawn structure. So, knight g5. This is a really strong move because you're threatening to come in and take scope. h6, e4, c5. Now our knight's at a really strong point. The queen's out of play as well. So rook d8, queen c4 is strong because now we potentially could actually do a discovery on the pawn here on c7. Sorry, c7. Hold on, I need a drink of water. Much better. Thank you. Okay. c6, a4, knight d5, which takes scope on this pawn. Knight d3 protects the pawn. Knight f6, which this brings a defender to the king, so it's an interesting move. Queen to c4. Queen went to c7. It didn't want to trade, but if it ever did trade, b takes c is actually really strong because we then could eye the b pawn, and if the rook came over, we always have a potential idea of taking the c6 pawn. So queen c7, b5, a takes b5, a takes b5, and the pawn can't take back. Of course, you guys see why. If the pawn takes back, see you later, queen. So that's not going to happen. Knight d7, queen e7, with a pin on the queen and a potential maybe rook, or I'm thinking either one of these knight moves to attack the knight, something like that, or maybe takes, and then knight, something similar to that would be an interesting move sequence. Rook c8, so black just steps out of all those tactics and goes rook to c8, saying, you know what, you're really not doing anything right now. And so the knight goes, you know what, fine, you walked right into something called a pin, so if I take here, you take here, I have rook takes, and we get to get down to an endgame where I'm one pawn up and my pawn chain's good. So these pawns would be traded off, and these rooks would be traded off, and rook and queen, it'd be something similar to this. These pieces would be traded off, and you'd have a queen and knight with pawn majority on the queen side / king side. So knight d8, and it'd be very not a wise idea for white to trade right now, because white doesn't have a very good pawn structure. So you want to walk right, you want to do another pin. This pin right here is the pawn can't take, because watch, I'll show you, if you took, you'll lose a piece, so you'd be up a whole rook. So g6, I believe this was a mistake. Let me make sure I didn't forget a I didn't forget to put a question mark there. Nope. Okay, everything's Operation Go. d5, which this takes scope on a pin, because if you play takes, if you were to take here, the knight could actually take back, because the pawn can't take because of the same problem. And now you're threatening a knight check. So if the queen like steps out of the way, oh, I'm sorry, I win your queen. So b6 was played. Instead, if that was played here, they're saying if d7 was played, check would happen. So it doesn't matter even if that's played, because right here you pick up the exchange. This picks up the exchange right here. That's why you got to be careful if you were to take here. That's a blunder, big time blunder. So d5, b6, queen c4 takes, knight takes. The pin still applies here. So and then pawn. This is actually very dubious, because you don't really have to do that. You can just play queen to g. Like if this was ever played here, you can just take back there and you win exchange. So, and if this takes, of course, that loses a whole piece. So there's really no reason to go e4 and weaken your structure. You don't have to worry about that. But white got overprotective, and there's really no reason for that. You made a target here, and potentially so you don't really want to make weaknesses. You want to keep your position strong and try to get rid of this. c5. Now a pass pawn has been made. They're saying that a potential rather than c5, h5 is actually better. h5, because that stops any infiltration points. It also allows for the king to have some space, so, and the queen can actually come in. It stops the push of g4 too. So this h5 does have some teeth to it. So queen c3, exclam, c5, rook a1, queen b6, check, and then you take, because of course you see if you take here, you pick up a rook, so you pick up an exchange, so he can't take. He plays queen to d4, queen takes, c takes, and then f4. Now you actually come up, you arise a whole pawn up. Let's see, 5 versus 3. This knight can barricade the pawn in front and have an outpost, so you're good. So that's why c5 was played, to kind of avoid that. Rook d1, knight d7 to see if he can't trade off this knight. And queen goes wham, because This actually wins a pawn. If he can't take back, because if he takes, you're down a pawn, and you have a rook and knight. No, you do not want that. So that can't be played. Queen takes, rook takes. So you're still up a pawn. You have 4, and he has 4, and you have 5. So you actually, through a tactic, win a pawn. So rook f8, and also if he does something silly, you have a mating threat along here if he doesn't guard the f pawn. So you make him have to go rook to f8. It's forced. E5, which this locks everything down. H5, which is actually a mistake. H5. The giant threat for black is the positional. He needed to get his king like out of dodge by basically going. I don't know what black could actually do here. I think he's stuck. So c5, rook to d6. I get you guys notice the pin, and so that's an idea there. And then he takes king h and rook to g5, and at this point black decided to throw in the towel and say that it's not worth fighting anymore, because he's just going to go down in flames, because he's down 2 pawns already. White has 1 passer. Black's pawn chain is wrecked. So he's going down, because you have queen to c4 next, and then you just infiltrate in, and then that's a target, and that, what isn't a target here, and this is a target, and it's just so painful. Okay, let's see what the summary is. Notice how white played to prevent his opponent from breaking through with. Let's go back to this point here. He's talking about that white played. Let's see, it's c5, so that c5 couldn't be played. Let me get to that. He played c4, and black wasn't able to get his pawn, his c5 pawn advance in, his a5 pawn, or the breaking e5, because this knight's guard here. So this knight prevented c5. The knight on c6 did. A5 would be dubious, because you can stop it with a4, and then you just provoked a weakness for us to attack later on with our knights. And black's bishop here means nothing in this setup here, because of how rock solid it is. Okay, and so now we will go into our puzzles, or if you guys have games you want to go over, if you guys have a game or stuff you want to go over, we can go over that too. We'll go into puzzles now, though, and I'll leave this puzzle with you guys for just for a second. I'll be right back. Okay. So you have a Leela game. Let me see here. We'll finish this one up, Fox, and then we'll go over that game. Okay. Bishop takes. So bishop takes g7. Okay. Yeah, I think if we did that, he has queen to b1 check mate. Not checkmate. You can intercept with the knight, but then it would lead towards a checkmate. Well, I guess you can come back and then he can pick off. Then that would be mate. So that's okay. Hey, you know what? It looks winning. If the king had a flight square on h3, this move would be winning. So you know what? That's the whole thing. This move would be winning if there was a flight square for the king. But sadly to say, no flight square for the king. So that'd be such a sweet move, though. I don't think we would worry about this puts it on the opposite color of this bishop, so what if we take bishop takes, though? Have we looked at that? Have we looked at if bishop takes b7, though? Let's just take a quick look. That's one thing we excuse me, that's one thing we have to you have to always take scope on is one second. Excuse me, a tickle there. So if we played bishop takes, we'll just check a line out. Yeah. Trying to see, is there anything that we could do besides that? I really don't see anything. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I think H3 is the move. Let's go with it. Hmm. Queen C4. I was wondering about that. If we, there's Queen C4, Queen C4, um, and yeah, I think Queen C4 has to be the move that's played. So Rook to E7. The queen guards F4. Let's see. Nice find, guys. Good job. Good job. Okay, we're gonna go over a one of the Allied Chess self-learning engines. I promised Fox I'd do that. Okay. So d4, knight f6. Okay. I noticed that the computer really likes d4 because Stockfish is like that's the first move it prefers. It doesn't. It used to computers used to like e4. Yeah, this the Banco has a lot to do with central control. I really haven't played it, but I've watched Josh Waiskins in like one of his tapes on Grandmaster's chess things. He used to play the Banco. He said he liked how aggressive it was. E4, E6, takes. And white gets, he says, like a strong center. So it's like he says there's a problem though for both sides. They both have backward pawns. One on d6 for black, and one on e4 for white. So there's a drawback to every one of these kind of openings. You know, like in the London system, when you close this up, the pawn on b2 ends up becoming a target for the queen. If the bishop was out here and the position was closed, that ends up becoming a target. So no move doesn't have a flaw to it. They all have drawbacks. Bishop to e7. So nice f4. You gotta love that. That is an attacker's move. Castles. So bishop e2, queen a5, and bishop d2 with this actually has a pin on the queen, so the knight can actually move potentially here and do a discovery. I don't know if it does anything, knight b5, but it would be an interesting move to look at. Queen c7, yeah. Like b5 would be interesting to play, but it has no point, so it's pointless if you want to think about it. This knight is best guarding the e4 pawn, and also we want to get castled too, so we're going to probably g4. Wow. That is aggressive for sure. G5, whoa. F6. Wow. H5, H4, whoa. A6, A4. It's locking everything down. You can't play here because there's a rook, so A4 stops black's counterplay on the queen side. And so now you have, and potentially queen to c2 and castle queenside is potential idea as well. F5, e takes f5, bishop takes f5, and then h5. Whoa, this is pretty powerful attack. You're loving that. A5, knight f3. So the last piece is developed, last minor piece. Rook a4, a6. The knight's trying to get into b4. Now the knight's coming to attack the bishop, and the bishop has to move, so d7, and castle. Whoa, that has a lot of heart there, you gotta say. The castle on the king side is very... You have to be deep for that. That is a very deep positional move for the castle king side. So, bishop guards the pawn. Potentially there could be a sacrifice here as well. So if this pawn ever gets removed from the board, you always have d6 with a discovery. So that's kind of what the machine is thinking about setting up, with maybe knight to e4 or knight e4, potentially with maybe bishop excuse me, bishop e3, and then potentially a sacrifice, and then pushing the pawn. You never know, there's a lot of play. So the queen's coming back kind of to step out of any attacks that could arise. So queen c2. Now this bishop's under fire, so f5. Wow. Wow. Huh. I want to see what would happen if you took here. Kind of curious. Wow, that's power chess for sure. '94. Got to remember that. That is pretty intense. So everything's protected and ready for the attack to come down. All cylinders go. We're getting everything. They're building for everything. You gotta be patient. Wait for the right moment for a mistake to arise. Bishop d8. And now h8. Wow. That ends in check. So you can't really do that at this moment. I was wondering about that. So mate 5-10, huh? Nice. Nice. Because you're threatening with a bishop here, queen here, knight there, knight here, bishop here. Oh man, everything's... yeah. Okay, bye-bye. Be blessed. Bye-bye. Thank you for logging on. H, then F. Oh, whoa. Yeah, this pawn's protected. The queen's under fire. Man, the machine is getting pretty brutal. Wow. Stockfish likes that move. Wowzers. That's pretty intense there. Yeah. We'll do some more puzzles. That was nice. Okay. Let's do it. Post it in, we'll go over it. Jacobian must be black. Jacobian must be black then. That's the French defense. This is his line that he loves to play. Him and Yazzer studied the French. Okay. D4, D6, D4, knight F6. Huh. That's odd. He did the perk defense. Then he did the Shanik very defense. Huh. Takes, queen takes, and d5. Bishop e2. E6. Knight D1, okay. Yeah, he wants to keep the pieces on the board, especially when there's targets like that. He can't play that because he'll take there. But wouldn't you love it if he slips up and takes there? I'd love that. Because then you have that, and he'd have to play and get something like that. So takes, it takes, and then a pin. You gotta always remember to take scope on pins. So rook AD1, bishop takes, knight, queen takes, and the castle's in kingside. So now Var has the ability of, he's got a protected passed pawn. It's actually a whole pawn up, and so he can get his rooks involved now. And trading off pieces will actually safety his king. Bishop takes, rook takes, and he basically grabs a whole nother pawn. Rook G, and now the queen attacks the rook. So King G1, and then H8, with the idea of a potential G8, R, maybe even H6, and the king gets up and safeties. He might get a, well, I think the opponent's trying to get a perpet with, if Var gets a little too hasty, I believe this is a perpetual. So I think that's a perpet if I'm not mistaken. Let's see if it's 0 if I'm not mistaken. Let me see. Come on. Yeah, it's 0. So queen checks first. King moves. And now we're attacking the rook and protecting the pawn, so we're waiting. We want a whole piece. So yeah. So we have to keep that in mind. Takes. Wins a whole nother pawn. Wow, Var's just demoing the guy's position. We'll get to this real quick. We'll take a look at this puzzle. So one sec, I'll be right back. was looking at oops. I was looking at this move here. King takes. I still don't understand why the rook takes doesn't work. But I see the power of that move though. Oh, I gotcha. I gotcha. I gotcha. Yeah. Yep, that's right. Yep. Let's see. Okay, let's take a look at queen takes, king takes. Okay, so queen takes f8. Check. Then king takes. Let's put that in. Okay, so queen takes f8, king takes f8, rook takes f7 check. So these both are checks. He only has one move to go to. King to e8, and okay. Wow. Pretty intense, guys. Nice job. Hmm. Yeah, I'm looking to see if there's any en routes, like if we take, if queen comes in here, check, we can actually, so if we take here, queen comes in check, queen 2, g2, queen takes g2, king takes g2, and then pawn takes pawn. The knight is hanging though. Oh, yeah. Nice. I can't believe I didn't consider that. That was like right in your face right there. That's like a right here is like right there. I should have seen the queen moves. I was looking to see if there was a potential mating idea, but it wasn't trapped. I'll go back. I'll show you, Fox. Sorry about pulling out too fast there. We're threatening mate here, so the rook can't really. If it tries to save itself, let's see what happens here. And then if he takes there, oh, you just grab that rook. This is even worse for black. You just come there and now you're... Huh. and you come back and you're fine. Okay, I gotcha. I gotcha. That was a cool position. Probably can do. We'll do this one and then the next one, and then I gotta log off. So we'll do two. All right, let's get this taken care of, guys. Okay. Yeah, that does set up a mate, doesn't it? That is pretty darn tootin' impressive. Yeah, it sets up a mate here. This is the mate right there. Try to see, is there anything that he can do though? Excuse me. Yeah, I really don't see anything that potentially would let's see. So queen takes f7 check. King goes to h8. I think we're forced to take on this one. Okay, one more, guys. One more. Yeah, that would be an interesting move for sure, Fox. I agree. All right. Let's see, what do we got here? I like queen h4. Excuse me, queen h4. That threatens the attack here. Okay, do you guys have any questions on any of the puzzles or anything that you would like to go over? You always are welcome on. Let me see, where is that? Here we go. Where is our community? We have a team now, so if you guys want to join the team, you can. You're always welcome. Team Chess Cruncher. Okay. Do you guys have any questions about this before I log off? Like any questions about the other puzzles? Like, we could go over this one real fast. This one here. We'll go over this one. I think you go to community, and then you go to all teams, and then you type in let me see if it comes up. Yeah, you just type this in here. You go to teams, you go to all teams, and then you type it into you type in Team Chess Cruncher like this. It has to be, I believe, big caps. It has to be typed in like that. I'm still working on how to make it so you guys can get access to the studies. I'm hoping that I can figure that out on this, because that was actually the whole reason I got it, was so that we can talk, and I'll set up some forums for you guys to talk about chess on. So I'm still learning how all that works. It took me a while to even learn how to use these arrows and things, so you gotta bear with me on that. But we'll get there. I think so, but I think only members can actually access it, I think. I'm not sure. Oh, you can find it. Sweet. Okay. So, let's see. Yeah, okay, so let's see here. There. We were talking about when the king moves, that knight d5 is what Fox was thinking about. Oh, you do? Okay. That's cool, too. Yeah, eventually, when we get enough members, we'll have to, like, maybe host an arena or something like that. And then we all can play in that. Because there's some teams that are, like, they have several thousand members. And some of them host, like, arena battles for their guys to play in. Yeah. Okay, let's take a look here, and then we'll go over this one because you put in an interesting move. I wanted to take a look to see. Okay, if queen here, so queen would take, bishop takes, bishop takes, bishop takes, and then takes there. And I think you're up in exchange. So that was the correct line. Oh, so bishop takes. Okay, bishop takes there. Thinking. Okay. Wow, nice. Yeah, that stops the bishop from, I guess he still has that, doesn't he? Oh, nice. You gotta love that. Oh, that's so sweet. Did we answer all the questions on that puzzle for you guys? Yeah. Do you have any lines after takes here? Any other lines you want to look at after King D? King D, H, not D, King H8. You're good? Okay. Alright. Perfect. Well, guys, thank you all for logging on, and you know what? Keep pushing forward. That's the whole thing. Like we have to not just know it, but we have to apply what we know, and we can be willing to learn, but we must do our learning. Do the step. Sometimes that's putting aside, wanting to play a lot, on LHS and stuff, to studying, because you can't get any better until you study, and that's just the fact. That's how the Lord made us, was so we can study. And so we have to remember also, Hannibal Smith said that a plan is not just having your move, but knowing what your opponent's going to move and predicting what, and making a plan around that, and then already countering that. So you know what he's going to do before he even does it. Sorry, and that's a plan, he says. And he says he loves it when a plan comes together, and we love it. Don't we love it when tactics come together, guys? So we got to, remember, it's not bad to make a mistake. It's only bad to stay down and not learn from it. So you know what? Just don't. A lot of people say mistakes are bad to do. That's how we learn, and that's what this stream is about. I guess, if we want to say it, making as many mistakes as we can so that we can learn more from it. You know what I mean? I know that sounds like, what? Making mistakes? Yeah. Like when we get a puzzle right, and they stop, we think about what would happen if we did this, and if the move doesn't work, we go back and we put a new move in there. If we get it wrong, we find out why it is, and we put a move in there and find out why. We're constantly learning. You can't learn without mistakes. It's just how life is. Okay, and I'll leave you with this, as Wesley So says, through the Lord Jesus, and as I say, God bless, and I'll see you next time on Chess Cruncher TV. Have a blessed morning, afternoon, and evening, and I'll be back on, Lord willing, tomorrow, and we'll go over some more studies, some games, and more tactics and learning. So we gotta just keep studying chess, guys. Good job. Okay, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Be blessed. Bye bye.